I have 5 steps in which I write a summary. I take 5 steps. I don't know about other teachers or students. I have a 5-step plan. And my plan, my summary plan, my summary strategy and technique has been continually revised and edited, revised and edited. I'm just trying to optimize it to get the perfect workflow. So I'm going to tell you the first thing that I do in the exam. You can steal my strategy or steal parts of it or integrate it into your own strategy if you already have one. So I get my paper. I don't even look at anything here. I scroll. Well, I wouldn't be scrolling, I'd be flipping, right? I scroll and I start here. This is the planning section. And the first thing I do, I write down my checklist of things to do. Why do I do this? Exam pressure can erase memory. You will go into the exam, and after 10 minutes, you forget your whole plan, your whole strategy gone because you're so nervous. And now you're like, well, okay, I've read the passage, I've underlined main points. What do I do next? So what you should do in those first 2 minutes, write down the plan. And then as you go through the plan, check off everything that you complete. All right. So after 40 minutes, all the boxes should be checked. All right. If you're not keeping up, I can't see a hand if you raise a hand, but let me know in the comments if you need me to repeat anything or turn back. Because this summary paper that I'm doing right now, the summary question, it's a bit more slow paced because I'm explaining the technique. But the next one, I'm going to run through it in exam time. All right. Bam. I get this nice big box. Actually, I think CSEC should give us two pages to plan because planning is so important. So you get this big box. The first thing I do, I start writing what I need to do. My step 1, read instructions and passage. And I write this down. Read instructions and passage. All right, I write that down and I put my time stamp. I put my time. I'm going to do this in 10 minutes and I put a little box to check. Beside this, I put main idea and I put a little box. I'm going to explain what each step is a bit later on. Then, number 2. So this is my first 2 minutes in the exam. I'm writing down the plan. That means if I even forget where I am or what I'm doing, I can check back and I can get back on track. 2, I'm going to highlight at least 7 points. That's my second step. And I'm going to do this in 10 minutes. I have my box here. When I complete that step, I check that box. Step 3, list 5 critical in all caps points. And I can list those points in 5 minutes. I have my checkbox. Good. I'm going to write down step 4, structure, summary. Notice I didn't say write summary because my summary is already there. It just needs to be structured properly. Structure summary with at least 7 points, or we can just say 7 plus points. And this is going to take me 10 minutes. I have my box. Step 5, check summary. And let's say I spend 2 minutes writing all of this down. It means I would have another 3 minutes. I can count how many words I have, fix spelling errors, and do little things like that. I cannot make any major changes at this time, but I can make very small changes. So this is what I do. I enter the exam. I write down the plan. Half of my planning section is used just building out the roadmap to the summary technique. 2 minutes have passed, and in those 2 minutes, you have written your plan. All right, so let me take you through each step. Step 1, read instructions and passage. You're going to do this within 10 minutes. All right, bam. You're going to read everything here, obviously. We have done that already, so I won't do that again. Then you're going to read the whole passage. All right. Now, on the first reading of the passage, you are not marking up the paper. You're not highlighting, underlining. What you are doing right now, you're trying to get a gist. You're trying to get a general understanding of what the passage is about. You have one task that you're going to do after you finished reading for the first time. And you're going to do this main idea. You're going to write in one sentence or even one phrase what the passage is about. And you're going to write that here. If you can write that one phrase or sentence, if you can prove to yourself that you know what the passage is about, you are set to continue. All right, so now we have read the passage. Bam, we can check that little box here. Passage is read. The next thing we have to do right here is write down what the entire passage is about in one sentence or maybe two sentences. And if you check the title, Coconut Oil Redeemed, that's going to also give you an indication of what the passage is talking about. All right. Would you say that this captures the essence of the whole passage? First, people said that coconut oil was bad for you, but now the product is making a return. So after you read the passage, you distill it into just the core idea. You write that down. And for me, my planning is done. I'm done planning. So I can check off this box here that says main idea. And I'm going to move on to step 2, which is to highlight at least 7 points. So now we go up here, and I have many different colors that I can work with. But in the exam, I suppose you will just have your black pen. So you can underline, you can circle, you can square, you can do whatever you wish. The point is, you want to be highlighting at least 7 points from this point onward. So you've read the passage, you have written down what it's about in 1 or 2 lines, and now every main point that you highlight must connect to this one point that you have just written down. So if you find a point that has nothing to do with this, do not highlight it because it's not a main point. That's why you wrote this down here. You wrote this down so that now you have an idea of what will qualify as a main point. If you had gone into the summary without writing this down, then anything can look like a main point. But now that you have this, anything that has no connection to this right here, we're going to leave it alone. We go paragraph by paragraph, and if something connects to that main point, we highlight it. In paragraph 1, do we see any main points? In paragraph 1, the fact that Caribbean people use coconut oil for many years. That's it. That is the complete point. And someone says the last sentence. The purpose of coconut oil. Caribbean countries have been using for many years. Okay. All right. So what I can highlight here is this. For me, that's a main point. For several decades, people have been using coconut oil, a local product, for different purposes. And we can go into the different purposes, but no need for examples right now. And there's another main point. Do you see another main point? Jade is reading. Caribbean countries have been using coconut oil for many years and even started exporting it. That's an important point. The exportation of it. Remember, guys, anything that connects here, that connects to our main idea, we're going to include it. We have the word exportation. So if it has something to do with exporting the coconut oil, it's a main point. So we can say, get a different color. Some Caribbean islands, no need to put the examples, exported the oil to foreign markets. That's another point. As we highlight the points, we number them. That way, we can ensure that we have at least 7. So we have 1, for several decades, Caribbean people have used coconut oil for different purposes. 2, some Caribbean islands, including TNT, exported the oil to foreign markets. All right, fine. What about paragraph 2? Do we see any main points in paragraph 2? The downfall of coconut oil. We seem to be in agreement there. All right, so we can highlight that. The 1980s started downfall of coconut oil. And if we want to continue highlighting to say that, well, this is all connected, we can do that. This is our one main point. And the point is, coconut oil started going down because people started saying it's bad for you. All right, fine. Are there any other main points in paragraph 2 before we move on? They have bypassed the coconut oil now, and they're saying we don't want coconut oil anymore. We want other oils. Yeah, so that's also connected. So now we have how many points? We have 4 points. Let's move on. Coconut oil was having a good time, and then we started exporting it, making money from it perhaps. Then we started to find health issues connected to it, and because of that, people started recommending other oils instead. But what? The people who manufactured coconut oil, they didn't buy this. They're saying, no. These people are trying to sabotage us. So all of this right here is a point. The people who were making the coconut oil, they protested and said the corn oil people, they are trying to scam us out of our industry, right? The corn oil people, they just want to make money for themselves. That's what's going on. And there's a point that's connected to this now, right? The scientific evidence provided by these international groups gain the attention, blah, 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 blah. These are 2 separate points that we can include later on. I guess we don't need to include the example. Yeah. So what's happening here? The local oil, the coconut oil manufacturers, well, not just coconut oil, but the edible oil manufacturers, and coconut oil will be a part of that group. They were protesting now that coconut oil was going out of style, and people were blaming coconut oil for this and that, right? And then the scientific evidence provided by these international groups gained. So the same scientific evidence about the health issues, people started to pay attention to them. And so guess what? They started going to other oils. They started moving away from coconut oil. So that is connected. Now we have 6 points. Next paragraph. Do you see anything? Anything relevant here? I think Tivia puts it nicely. No conclusive evidence. Yeah. So they're saying coconut oil is going to kill you off. It's bad for your health. Connected to heart attack. Blah, blah, blah. But guess what? The more recent scientific evidence has shown that the previous labels are unfounded. So what's going on is all of these health risks that we were talking about in the 1980s, new evidence has come out that is saying this is not real. Coconut oil is not giving anybody heart attacks. Yeah, there are no connections. There are no connections. And we have the same thing going on in the next sentences here. Research has been shown. Research is saying that there is no risk of heart disease. But we don't even need all of that because the point is right here. All of these health risks that people are talking about, they are unfounded. There is no conclusive evidence. All of this is 1 point. So now we have 7 points. I think there is nothing else worth looking at in that paragraph. We have 2 more paragraphs to look at. This paragraph here, do we see a point? A point or 2? So we're looking at the journey of coconut oil from being this great oil to being discredited, and now all of a sudden the discrediting is being discredited. People are saying, but all of these negative associations to coconut oil, they're not real. So do we see the story progressing as we hit this paragraph here? I think Aquila is reading well. Not only is coconut oil harmless, but it is healthy. It is actually the opposite of what you guys have been saying. You're saying it's causing heart attack. Coconut oil is actually beneficial. Where do we see this? Where do we see this? Look at this. The positive findings are significant. So remember, we have moved from discrediting the negative findings to talking about the positive findings. Right? So remember, everything that we're highlighting is connected to this. Never lose sight of that. We're talking about coconut oil being redeemed. What does redeemed mean? It means you were in a bad state and now you're in a better state. So this is coconut oil being redeemed. This is people regaining trust and faith in coconut oil. So we have positive findings. And then, as a point connected to this, we can say there's no connection. And this is kind of an example here in the Philippines or United States. But the point is, there is no connection between the coconut oil and heart disease. No connection. And this point here is connected to this yellow point. So it's not really a new point. So let's make this yellow, because it's really the same point. Same point up here. Yeah. So we have 8 points so far, and this is continuing an old point. Look at the last paragraph. Do we have anything relevant here? We're finishing up the journey of coconut oil. Where do we end the journey? Coconut oil has returned to normal consumption. What about the industry, Kim? A return. All right, there we have it. There we have it. So after all that has been said and done about coconut oil, if we go back to manufacturing and exporting coconut oil, what could happen? The industry could revitalize, and this could boost our our Caribbean economies. So let us take coconut oil back to the glory days, back to when let's make coconut oil great again. That is the point of this last paragraph. Make coconut oil great again. Yeah, because it's going to be beneficial. All right, let's look at the journey of coconut oil. Every summary has a journey that we are being taken through, right? There has to be connections among all of the points. Nothing is just random. So in the beginning, we were using coconut oil. We have been using coconut oil for decades. That's point 1. After that, we have used it so much that we have started exporting it. Right? So coconut oil is now making us money. What happens next? The downfall of coconut oil, because people started saying there are connections between coconut oil and disease. So coconut oil declines. Because of this connection between coconut oil and health risks, people have been going to other oils. But the people who manufacture the edible oils, they were not convinced. They're saying this is a scheme to destroy our industry, right? However, all of these scientific evidences talking about the health risks, they basically turned people away from coconut oil. But in recent times, we are now seeing where there's no evidence. There's no modern evidence to suggest that coconut oil is dangerous, right? In fact, we are seeing where coconut oil is beneficial. Yeah. And again, no connection between coconut oil and health risks. No, what are we going to do about it? We should go back to consuming, producing, and exporting coconut oil, and this will can revitalize our industry and boost the Caribbean economies. That is the step by step of this passage. How many points do we have? We have 9 points. How many points do we need? We need 7 or more. That means we're in the clear. We're good. So we took about 20 minutes on this step, but in the exam, because I'm teaching step by step, we're taking long. In the exam, you will be able to do that in 10 minutes. Go through the whole passage, underline, highlight, or square, whatever you want to do with it. Highlight the points. Now, step 2 is complete. Now we move on to step 3. We're going to list 5 critical points, and we're going to do this in 5 minutes. Why can we do this in just 5 minutes? Because we already have 9 points here. All we need to do is choose the 5 best ones. Note that at this point, you will be writing the points in your own words. So you're going to find 5 points. All right, let me see what 5 points I want to choose. What are the 5 most important points? And I'm gonna mark them up in another way. How can I mark them up in another way? I'm gonna use some blue ink and mark them up. All right, so this is definitely a main point. Point 1. There's no way we can skip point 1. We've been using coconut oil for decades, right? Of course, we can't skip point 3. This is a critical point. We've been using it for decades. It has been good to us. And then the decline because of the health issues. So remember, we have 9 points. We're picking 5 of the best points that tell the story. First, coconut oil was nice and good, and we loved it. Then we have the health problems, the health problem findings, and the decline. Right? After the decline, other oils took over from coconut oil. Coconut oil was the thing, and now other oils have replaced it. Right? But these people did not believe that there were actually health problems. Right? And what ended up happening in the end? No health risks were actually found. Yeah? So what I'm going to do now, I've chosen 5 points. Maybe you would have chosen 5 different points. No problem. I chose 5 points that I think tell a complete story. And I'm going to give those 5 points to CSEC. But I'm going to give CSEC these points in my own words. And guess what? In this part, you can actually join points together if you wish. Using and exporting. All right? That's 1. Caribbean people have been using and exporting coconut oil for decades. All right, point 2. We're going to talk about the decline now. So we can say the 1980s. The 1980s saw a decline. Yeah, the 1980s saw a decline in the coconut oil industry as health risks were said to be connected to the product. Still kind of merging and organizing the points well. So when it's time to write my summary, it's easy. The other oils, you can say alternative oils. And I want to find a nice way of saying alternative oils took over. We can say alternative oils rose to prominence. Following the downfall of coconut oil, alternative oils rose to prominence. Right? And in the exam, you will be back and forth between the point list and the passage, constantly checking to ensure that you're writing the correct points. Yeah. And now we're going to talk about the protests. So local so we're getting to where coconut oil came back as a trusted thing that we all believe in. So it was ultimately revealed So it was ultimately revealed that coconut oil, contrary to previous findings, has numerous significant health benefits. All right. I think CSEC could be happy with these. And we check this off. Done. Now it's time to structure the summary with 7 or more points. So at this point, you go back here. You already have 5 points, or maybe you've actually merged a couple of these into some nice thick points, but you have at least 5 points here. So to make up the number to at least 7, you can just pull from other points that you have not written down here. And then we have a summary. So looking at this, so let me look at these 5 points. I'm looking at these 5 points over here, and I'm going to just convert these 5 points into a summary. So we say 1 paragraph, we indent to begin, or we do not use red pens in CSEC. We use black. All right, so Caribbean people, your summary now is going to be quite similar to the 5 points you've already listed, right? Because you have written those points down in your own words. So the work is much easier for you now. Ensure that when you're moving from one point to the next, you're using your transitions. So I'm going to move to a point talking about an opposite thing happening. So I use however. That way, the reader knows that they can expect a U-turn or a left turn or a right turn. I'm not going straight. I'm turning off onto an opposing point. All right. So, however, due to connections, so what I'm doing, these same 5 points plus more from the passage, I am filling in the blanks, connecting the dots, elaborating on the points. All of these, if you add up this might be like 80 words. Your summary is 120 words, so you need a bit more information. So you can talk a little bit more about the points. So, however, due to connections to health risks, backed by scientific evidence preferred by international groups, remember we talked about these groups who came up with the findings. The product's popularity, what happened to the popularity? It declined in the 1980s. Yeah, the product's popularity declined in the 1980s. Now, we're going to talk about how corn or how other oils took over. That means we need another transition. Subsequently, yeah, we could say consequently as well, but I like subsequently. It means so this happened and this happened next. Other oils, and the passage seems to put some importance on corn oil. So I can say particularly corn oil. There's a difference between a random example and an important detail. All right, so subsequently, other oils, particularly corn oil. Yeah, I have some alternatives. And next, we can talk about the protests. So after after corn oil and so on took over, local these aren't new points, guys. They might sound a little bit fancier, but they're not new points. I'm just connecting the dots and upping the vocabulary for CSEC so I can get a grade 1. So subsequently, other oils, particularly corn oil, became favored alternatives to coconut oil. What happened next? Local edible oil manufacturers protested. They protested, convinced that the aforementioned findings were the corn oil manufacturers' attempt to dominate the market. All right. What else do I need to add? We need to talk about the health benefits. And so while you're writing the summary, you check the passage to make sure that you don't just have 5 points, but you have at least 7. All right. So, oh yeah, the protests were ignored, right? So we need a however. However, so now we're going to talk about what happens in the end. So a lot of time passed, and we have ended up at like some kind of result, and so we can use this word. Ultimately, that's a nice word. It means, in the end, this is what happens. So ultimately, years of testing revealed. So we're now saying, in the end, there are no connections to health problems. So ultimately, years of testing revealed that so ultimately, years of testing revealed that the negative associations pinned to coconut oil are unfounded. But not only that, the health risks are unfounded, but we also see where there are significant benefits. So we can use another transition now to jump to that big point. We could use something like, in fact, there are actually health benefits, something like that. Or we can say, on the contrary, because now we're saying you thought it was left, but actually it's right. And how many words do I have here? Just doing a quick check. I think I can fit one more sentence in. I'm going to count the words after this, but I'm going to fit one more sentence in because I want to include point 9. I want to include point 9. Remember, we need 7 or more points, so you can put more than 7 points in the actual summary. The more points you can squeeze in properly, the better. So I'm gonna say the Caribbean economies, talking about going forward, the Caribbean economies So I think this looks good. Let me read through everything. And basically we're at the review stage now in the summary. So we can check this off. We have structured the summary with 7 or more points. And now we're gonna check it. So we have just a few minutes. We have to read everything, make sure the points are connected, and we also have to count the words and make sure we are between 110 and 120. The closer you get to 120 without passing 120, the better. All right, Caribbean people have long used and exported coconut oil. However, due to connections to health risks backed by scientific evidence preferred by international groups, the product's popularity declined in the 1980s. Subsequently, other oils, particularly corn oil, became favored alternatives to coconut oil. Local edible oil manufacturers protested, convinced that the aforementioned findings were the corn oil manufacturers' attempt to dominate the market. However, these protests were ignored. Ultimately, years of testing revealed that the negative associations pinned to coconut oil are unfounded. On the contrary, the product is proven to have health benefits. The Caribbean economies could see a boost if there's a return to the normal use of coconut oil. So, how many words do we have here? All right, so this seems to be about 118. You don't know how to count, just count them one by one. Or count 20 and write 20 when you reach 20, and then 40, 80 until you reach 120. So this should be good. It's not over 120, but it's close. That's what we're aiming for. And we check spelling and grammar and stuff like that, and we're done. All right, so this is what I have for this summary. Let's recap the steps. And we should be able to do all of this in 40 minutes. Once you have practiced the technique, you can do it in 40 minutes. It might look like it takes an hour or more, but it only takes 35 to 40 minutes if you have done it enough times. All right, so step 1, we read the instructions. Yeah, just recapping. Read the instructions on the passage. In 10 minutes, we write down the main idea. That's what we did here. The main idea, and all of the points that you highlight and write later on must connect to the main idea. Then you highlight at least 7 points. That takes you about 10 minutes. You might not have all of these different nice colors in the exam. It doesn't matter. Use your black pen. You can underline the points, or you can circle the points, or you can put the points into squares. Whatever you need to do, highlight the points somewhere and count them as you go. Point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when you reach 7, you can start feeling good. Yeah, because you need at least 7 points. After that, you're going to choose 5 of the points from the 7 plus points you have here, and you're going to write them in your own words here. CSEC is going to give you 5 marks for these 5 points. Yeah. Then these same 5 points plus at least 2 more from up here, you're going to use them, write your summary using the transitional words to connect your ideas. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Final step, check your summary. Make sure you're not over 120 words. Make sure you're not under 110 words. I think if you can aim for 115 to 120, this would be good. Yeah. If you're under 110, you're in trouble. You need to add information. If you're over 120, you're in trouble. You need to get rid of information or combine words.